Ginty's repairs took longer than the workmen first thought. After a full check, they thought it would be best to give Ginty an overhaul. Because of this, Percy stayed 2 more weeks than what the Fat Controller planned. But as anticipated, the work got busier after Christmas, and soon Percy and the other engines began to feel rushed off their wheels.
I don't know if I'm coming or going, complained Levy one day. There are so many passengers that Josephine and I can't even move out of stations, puffed Stephen.
Percy was shunting close by when the station master came up.
Leave these trucks here, Percy. The Fat Controller wants you to help Levy with the goods.
Yes, sir, Percy said, and went to the other side of the yards to collect his trucks. When he arrived at the switch, his fireman told him that they had to wait here until Levy passed. Just perfect, grumbled Percy. We're going to be late if we don't hurry along.
You've got to be patient, young one. That's how you'll be, after all, really useful.
Was that you, fireman?
No.
And who was that then? The driver and fireman checked all around, until they saw some old rails leading through some bushes. Should we check?
Might as well.
They climbed over the bushes and trees until they saw an engine. My goodness! The engine was really old and very rusty. He looked up at the crew.
Oh, hello there. My name's Albert, said the engine.
Bloody hell, how long have you been here for?
Depends on what date.
It's January the 2nd, 1996.
Oh, so 80 years! Blimey, doesn't time fly?
The crew were astonished as they went back to Percy and radioed Stephen to get the breakdown train and bring the Fat Controller. After they made their delivery, they went back to the switch. They saw them with the crane. Percy was still confused, but his driver explained. I think this engine was a furnished railway locomotive, but the paint is so rusty I can't even tell what livery it was painted in. Excuse me, said Percy shyly. Where did you come from and how did you get here? The old engine smiled.
I was built for the furnished railway. A few years later, me and another engine were bought for this line. Interesting. Do you know the engine's name that was bought with you? Oh, yes. His name was Edward. We were good friends and excited to work on this railway. But I fear he was scrapped long ago. The last time I spoke to him, he said the bigger engines kept making fun of him because he wasn't big or strong as them. Well, don't worry, Albert. After 80 years, he is still in working order.
The Fat Controller paused.
If my workmen can rebuild him, they can certainly rebuild you. You mean? Yes, my grandfather told me about you when I was a small child, and said to me how useful you were. So it would be right to restore you in his honour. And when you're done, you will pull trucks and coaches as well as shunt in the yards. Oh, yes, please, sir, said Albert happily.
After he was pulled from the trees and shrubs, the Fat Controller turned to Stephen.
Take Albert and the crane back to the works, said the Fat Controller. I'll tell the workmen to get working on him right away.
But soon one of the workmen came up. Sure, there's been an accident with 16 in the coaches.
Oh, bother. That's the last thing I need,
said the Fat Controller, walking to Percy.
Can you take me to the sheds? I parked my car over there.
Yes, sir. Hop in. As they went back to the sheds, Percy hoped that Albert would get rebuilt and restored. But I mustn't tell you any more, or I shall spoil the next story.